Look at Brooks get him right back. And Steph. Harrington off the markers. Clark steps into a three.
Imagine a split screen. On one side, Steph Curry pulling up from deep. On the other, Caitlin Clark doing the same. Their form? Nearly identical. Their impact? Game-changing. But it's not just their shooting that's turning heads. Let's break down why Clark might be more like Curry than you ever imagined. Now, you might be thinking, sure, they can both shoot, but is Clark really changing the game like Curry did? Here's where it gets interesting. NBA legends are taking notice, and by the end of this video, you'll see why.
The cool part is the way that she plays and her range and the level of difficulty on her shots is obviously a very close comparison.
Think about it. Curry from Davidson, Clark from Iowa, two players from underdog programs who rose to prominence. But that's just the beginning of their shared story. How did these overlooked talents become the faces of their respective leagues? Stick around, because we're about to reveal the uncanny parallels that go far beyond just their shooting touch. Before we dive in, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can bring more Caitlin Clark content to viewers like you.
Her range, her three-point shooting overall, her flair for testing her range every night and knowing that the other team's going to try to take it away. And she's fearless. No shot is a bad shot, and when you can shoot it as well as she can.
From overlooked recruits to basketball revolutionaries. How did Curry and Clark turn defensive double teams into their secret weapon? Their uncanny ability to elevate teammates while facing intense pressure holds the key to their shared legacy. Think about the last time you saw a player completely change the game. Now imagine two players doing it in parallel, in different leagues. That's exactly what Steph Curry and Caitlin Clark have done. But their stories start long before the highlight reels and record-breaking performances. Let's rewind to their college days. Curry wasn't exactly a hot commodity coming out of high school. Top programs overlooked him, and he ended up at Davidson, a school not exactly known for basketball dominance. Fast forward to Clark, and it's a similar story. Despite interest from other programs, she chose to stay home and play for Iowa, a respectable program, but not a powerhouse. Now, here's where things get interesting. Both Curry and Clark didn't just play for these teams, they transformed them.
Curry lets it go, and buries it!
Curry led Davidson on a Cinderella run to the Elite Eight in 2008, putting the school on the basketball map. Clark? She took Iowa all the way to the national championship game in 2024. These weren't just good performances, they were program-defining moments. But it's not just about team success. Both players faced a unique challenge on the court: constant defensive pressure. Clark has faced more defensive blitzes than any other player in the WNBA. Sound familiar? It should, because Curry deals with the same treatment in the NBA. Double teams, traps, you name it. These two have seen it all. Here's the kicker. Instead of crumbling under that pressure, they've turned it into an advantage. How? By using that defensive attention to create opportunities for their teammates. It's like they have eyes in the back of their heads, finding the open player when everyone else is focused on stopping them. Let's talk numbers for a second. Clark isn't just scoring, she's leading the WNBA in assists and about to break the single-season assist record while being a top 10 scorer. That's not just good, that's historically good. It's the kind of dual-threat capability that makes defenders lose sleep at night.
Good length on the perimeter on Kayla. That is a tough pass!
Wow.
And somehow she got it in.
Man, the pass!
And Curry? He's been doing the same thing in the NBA for more than a decade.
Curry fakes. Oh, rifles a pass to Iguodala with 1.9.
But stats only tell part of the story. What really sets these two apart is their impact on their teammates. Their work ethic is contagious. Their competitive spirit? It lights a fire under everyone around them. When Curry or Clark step on the court, their teammates play better. It's like they have some sort of basketball superpower that elevates the entire team. Now, you might be thinking, sure, they're great players, but are they really changing the game? Well, consider this. Both Curry and Clark have faced their fair share of doubters. Critics said Curry's playing style wouldn't work in the NBA. They said Clark couldn't handle the physical play at the highest level. But guess what? They proved everyone wrong. Curry's success challenged the conventional wisdom about three-point shooting in the NBA. He showed that long-range bombs could be a viable offensive strategy, not just a last-resort option. Clark? She's doing the same thing for women's basketball. Her long-range accuracy and willingness to shoot from anywhere is changing how defenses have to play, leading to pinpoint passes and open looks for her teammates. But here's the real kicker. It's not just about their individual success. Curry's style of play has influenced an entire generation of basketball players. The NBA has seen a dramatic increase in three-point attempts since he entered the league, and pace of play has gone up. And Clark? She's bringing unprecedented attention to women's basketball. TV ratings are up, social media is buzzing, and more young girls than ever are picking up a basketball. If you think Steph and Caitlin are amazing, please remember to like this video and subscribe. This helps us bring more content to awesome viewers like you. Wouldn't you like that? Awesome. Remember when shooting from the logo was considered a bad shot? Curry and Clark have a different opinion. These two sharpshooters aren't just bending the game, they're completely reshaping it. Their range is expanding the very dimensions of basketball itself, forcing defenses to adapt to a threat that begins the moment they cross half court. Let's break down the similarities in their shooting mechanics. Both Curry and Clark possess a lightning-quick release that leaves defenders scrambling. But it's not just about speed. It's the accuracy from mind-boggling distances that sets them apart. Clark's average three-point attempt comes from a staggering 28 feet, 1.1 inches out. That's further than even the best seasons of Trae Young, Damian Lillard, and yes, Steph Curry.
I saw somebody break down the release time, which is pretty much identical to mine. And then her just confidence. You can't help but watch when she plays, where she's shooting from, the range, the confidence, the flair. Like, she's a performer.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Steph Curry himself has taken notice of Clark's shooting form. In his own words, "I saw somebody break down the release time, which is pretty much identical to mine." When the greatest shooter in NBA history sees himself in your game, you know you're doing something right. Now, you might be thinking, sure, they can shoot, but are they really changing the game? The answer is a resounding yes. Think about how this impacts the entire floor. When you have a player who can consistently hit from nearly 30 feet out, it stretches the defense to its breaking point. Suddenly, the paint opens up, creating lanes for drives and cuts that weren't there before. It's not just about the threes they make. It's about the opportunities they create for their teammates. Now, Kelsey Mitchell has wide-open driving lanes to attack the rim. Double team Clark? Lexi Hull, with her white-hot shooting, is waiting for a corner three. Defend them straight up? Well, Aaliyah Boston will feast in the paint. Sound familiar? Just imagine Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors doing the exact same thing during their dynastic run. This style of play has forced defenses in both the NBA and WNBA to adapt. The old playbook of packing the paint and daring players to shoot from outside? That's ancient history when Curry or Clark is on the court. Teams are now extending their defensive coverage well beyond the three-point line, sometimes picking up these sharpshooters as soon as they cross half court. But it's not just about distance. Both Curry and Clark have an uncanny ability to hit shots off the dribble, in transition, or with a hand in their face. This versatility makes them nearly impossible to guard consistently. You can't just run them off the three-point line because they'll blow by you. You can't sag off because they'll make you pay from deep. It's a defensive nightmare. The impact of their shooting goes beyond just their own teams. Young players watching Curry and Clark are now practicing shots that would have been unthinkable a generation ago. Coaches at all levels are rethinking their offensive strategies, emphasizing the importance of long-range shooting and floor spacing. Let's talk numbers for a second. In her rookie season, Clark is averaging 18 points and 8.3 assists per game. But it's not just the quantity, it's the quality and the difficulty of these plays that's turning heads. She's not just scoring, she's doing it in a way that electrifies the crowd and demoralizes the opposition. NBA legends are taking notice. Luka Doncic, one of the best young players in the game, has called Clark the women's Steph Curry. He even went as far as to say she can shoot better than him. That's high praise from a player known for his own shooting prowess.
It's a woman, Steph Curry. She can shoot it better than me.
But perhaps the most exciting aspect of Clark's game is that she's just getting started. She's bringing a level of excitement to the WNBA that's reminiscent of Curry's impact on the NBA. Just like Curry, Clark becomes a threat the moment she crosses half court. This constant danger forces defenses to stay alert. opening up opportunities for her teammates. The stats don't lie. Clark and Curry are scoring machines. But here's the twist. Their most valuable contribution might have nothing to do with putting the ball through the hoop. There's a ripple effect happening on and off the court that's changing the very DNA of basketball. What unseen impact are these two creating? And why are NBA legends taking notice? Let's break it down. When you think of great players, you probably picture highlight reels of impossible shots. But true greatness? That's about more than just putting points on the board. It's about elevating everyone around you. And that's where Clark and Curry truly shine. Think about it. Both players face constant defensive pressure. Double teams, traps, you name it. But instead of forcing shots, they use that attention to create opportunities for their teammates. It's like they have basketball sonar, always finding the open player when everyone else is focused on stopping them. But it goes beyond stats. What really sets these two apart is their impact on their teammates. Their work ethic is contagious. Their competitive spirit lights a fire under everyone around them. When Curry or Clark step on the court, their teammates play better. It's like they have some sort of basketball superpower that elevates the entire team. Here's where it gets really interesting. Both players have a unique on-court charisma that's changing the game. They're not just great players, they're entertainers. Clark's ability to engage with the crowd, reminiscent of Curry's interactions, is bringing unprecedented attention to women's basketball. TV ratings are up, social media is buzzing, and more young girls than ever are picking up a basketball. NBA legends are taking notice. Shaquille O'Neal, not exactly known for handing out compliments, called Clark the greatest female college player of all time. That's high praise from one of the most dominant players in NBA history.
I'm gonna go on the record and say she's the best female collegiate player ever.
And it's not just Shaq. LeBron James had this to say about her.
Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the WNBA.
But perhaps the most telling endorsement comes from Curry himself. He's openly supported Clark, acknowledging her shooting ability and confidence. In his own words, "You can't help but watch when she plays where she's shooting from the range, the confidence, the flair. It's crazy. When the greatest shooter in NBA history sees himself in your game, you know you're doing something special." What's truly remarkable is how both players balance their on-court swagger with off-court humility. They're not just changing the game, they're changing the culture of basketball. Curry's success has influenced an entire generation of players, leading to a dramatic increase in three-point attempts across the NBA. Clark? She's bringing a level of excitement to the WNBA that's reminiscent of Curry's impact on the NBA. But here's the real kicker. It's not just about their individual success. Both players have turned their teams into winners. Curry led the Warriors to multiple championships, transforming a struggling franchise into a dynasty. Clark took Iowa to the national championship game, putting the program on the map. And in the WNBA, Clark has turned the Indiana Fever from bottom feeders to playoff contenders, all in one season. They're not just great players, they're game changers. Indiana Fever head coach Christy Sides summed it up perfectly. When you talk about greats in this game, the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants and the Steph Currys, they are putting her in that category. That's not just hype, that's recognition of a truly special talent. As we've seen, the parallels between Curry and Clark are undeniable. Both have revolutionized the game with their long-range shooting, playmaking ability, and team-first mentality. But Clark isn't just following Curry's lead. She's carving her own path in women's basketball. Consider this. Clark's average three-point attempt comes from 28 feet out, surpassing even Curry's best seasons. She's not just matching his impact, she's potentially exceeding it. And the basketball world is taking notice. NBA stars like Luka Doncic are calling her the woman Steph Curry, while Coach Christy Sides compares her competitiveness to legends like Jordan and Bryant. She's not just scoring for herself, she is making her teammates a whole lot better. As Clark continues to push the boundaries of what's possible on the court, one question remains. Are we witnessing the birth of a new era in basketball? Are you ready for the fever to rise? Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe so you never miss out on the latest news. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.